Clemson fans should be very thankful for what Dabo Sweeney has done for the program. I mean, they went from being a program that flashed every once in a while to now they can flash national championship rings all across the city. But when he was talking about bandwagon fans the other day and said, we're at a point in our time where if you don't go undefeated, you're losers, you're terrible. Maybe we need to lose a few games and lighten up the bandwagon, because sometimes the bandwagon can get a little too full. To me, I think coaches need to always ask themselves, before they say anything controversial or anything to the media, how does this help my team? Does this help my team? Does it help me? You can believe that. And you know what? Fan is short for fanatical. We say this all the time on the show. Every fan base has a group of people that have unrealistic expectations or feel like everybody should be perfect. And that's an impossibility. Heck, there's even programs who haven't won half what Clemson has or won anything the year before where fans think they should go undefeated. But Dabo, you're a top 3 highest paid coach in the country. You're right in between Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. You were the one that came to Clemson and raised the standard. You brought this. You took Clemson to excellence. You let the fan base sippeth from the cuppeth. So you can't have it both ways. It's tough to build the standard to where you have. That's obvious. Everybody knows that. You can't sit here and say, we need to expect to win championships. We need to operate at this high level. And then when it doesn't happen, be upset that fans are upset. This is a high-class problem. And you're a big reason why this is a high-class problem, which in reality is a good thing. But Dabo needs to understand, these are the people that help fund his salary, that help him make the $10.5 million a year or whatever it costs. These are the people that are the diehards, and suggesting that you should lose games, and he came out and said he was joking about it, but if you watch the tone of it, I don't think he was. Suggesting that you should lose games when you put in all this work, when it's taken so much time to be able to build this place up to where it is now, you can think that. And you know what? It's not crazy to think that. But just because you can say something doesn't mean that you should. And right here, the question you got to ask yourself is, if that's okay to lose games, is Dabo still hungry enough and able to compete with the big dogs in the sport when you look at where Clemson's going, especially if they lose the ACC, leave the ACC? I want to bring in David Cone, former Michigan quarterback. David, I don't know if you could hear that.
God, like, hold on, my ears.
Yeah, I just think my brain just.
That was just God's way of telling me He loves me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, that's really unfortunate. I wish He would just tell me. My brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crain. And guys, again, in reality, expecting somebody to be perfect is ridiculous, right? We know that. But why would you come out and say this? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? How does this help your team when you were the guy that took Clemson to this place?
Yeah.
How many times did Dabo Sweeney say, we need to raise the standard at Clemson? Mm-hmm. Clemson can be an excellent place. It can be a championship program. We're right there with Kirby Smart. We're right there with Nick Saban. We can run with these guys. You can't say that and be like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe we should lose a few games as I sit back here and make my $10.5 million. In order to say that, like, that's like something the owner of a team says, or like the owner of a business says, somebody that is absolutely at the top. So unless Dabo Sweeney is now the president of Clemson and also the athletic director, to me, I don't think Nick Saban would say something like this.
No, I was wondering
in
that
this
yesterday.
context.
I was wondering that yesterday. I was thinking, man, would Nick Saban say this? Because the last couple of years, we've seen Nick sort of open up and say some things that were a bit surprising. I think the answer is still probably no. This is one of those things, if Dabo Sweeney told me this in confidence, personally, I would laugh hysterically. And I would say, you're exactly right.
For sure.
I mean, who among us hasn't, felt like we've worked really hard and accomplished something great, but somehow someone else just sort of overlooks that, or doesn't get on board with it, doesn't give you the kudos you deserve, or whatever. Everybody's felt like that, especially when you're talking about Dabo Sweeney coming to Clemson. It's not like he filled in for the guy we were just talking about, Nick Saban, and only won 2 championships in 13 years at Alabama or a place like that. I mean, he has overperformed at Clemson by every metric possible. So of course, he's right to feel this way the last last couple seasons when you win 10 games and people think that's a failure. He didn't tell me that in confidence, though. He said it publicly where everyone could hear. Yeah. I don't think it's a net positive for him. I also don't think it's that big of a deal. Clemson fans aren't as worried about this. What they're more worried about is the underlying results that they're going to see from this sort of mentality. Hey, are we getting left behind when it comes to transfer portal, when it comes to the new age of college football, those sorts of things? I think Clemson fans are looking to see, man, can Dabo Swinney still deliver, or are the best days for him at Clemson behind him? And I still think he's a great football coach.
Oh, no, and look, Dabo's a fantastic football coach. Now, I think he does need to evolve a little bit as the time evolves. We always say, you got to be malleable, especially when you get to the top. But Blaine, my whole point is, like, if I'm a Clemson fan and I'm watching him say that, Kim brought up a great point. Are the best times gone? You don't realize you're living in the good old days until they're gone, right?
Sure.
That's the old saying. But if I'm looking around and I'm watching these younger wave of coaches, I'm watching, Nick Saban still as hungry as ever at Alabama. Just watch him on the sidelines. Kirby Smart, young guy still dominating at Georgia, and you look around the rest of the country, do I feel like we're in a position where my coach is the hungry? We want excellence. Excellence is the only standard. We talk about understanding the standard can stay really high and reality needs to be accepted when a guy takes over a place like Hugh Freeze at Auburn. But Dabo's been here. He's been here for a while. Like you gave them the happiness and the expectation, and now you want to kind of take it away. I put this in the same category as with Shane Beamer. Why tell people how you broke your foot? Just say you broke your foot. There's Mark Stoops saying, hey, if you're not happy with it, why don't you send us some more NIL money so we can get better players than the ones I have in the locker room? You may be right that the players at Kentucky aren't as good as Georgia. You may be right that the standard at Clemson, perfection is ridiculous to attain. You may be right that that's exactly how you broke your foot. But sometimes you don't need to tell everybody everything.
Man, the more I listen to Dabo, he's just turned into a crybaby, dude. He's always crying about something. Like, we never go to Dabo and it's something positive. It's the transfer portal. It's NIL. It's this. Like,
Excuses?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that, but it's kind of different. Isn't it just funny? It's kind of, if Nick Saban comes out and says something, I can just sit back and be like, you know what? He's right. He's right. Well, when Dabo comes out, it just feels off. It's like, one, I can't believe you hadn't fell down that hill yet.
I know, that's the thing that
feels like it's
me
coming.
The most.
Two, quit wearing receiver gloves on the sidelines. Harbaugh's got his khakis and his cleats. Let's leave it at that. That's easy enough. And three, can we recruit an elite receiver? Can we focus on that, Dabo? I mean, hell, you had Hunter Renfro. I mean, you go through all these guys. Sammy Watkins. You had Nuke Hopkins. I mean, you had T. Higgins, all these guys. And now I look out there, and it's nobody. Quit crying for the love of everything holy and just go play the football game. If I'm a fan, look, you want me to get pissed off if we lose a couple games.
Yeah.
It's the standard, buddy. You said it. Rather it be like that than what I've been going through lately. Hopefully we can win 7 this year. That's what I've been going through as a fan. You don't want that to be the expectation. So please,
what is Dave Chappelle in that skit when he takes the kid back to where he grew up from and he tells the guy, be like, hey, tell him Leonard Washington made it out. Like, if I'm a Clemson, I'm like, no, we made it out.
Yes.
You're the highest paid coach in the ACC by over $3.5 million.
Yes.
Over, I think, Mike Norvell's second. I don't want to hear about, hey, maybe we should lose a couple games. Mm-hmm. Do want to let you guys know it's obviously tailgating season. It's grilling season all year round. Unless you're from way up north, and you'll still find a way. That's why you need to make sure that you take the mystery out of the meat aisle when you are choosing what to throw on the grill or any meat to cook at home. And our friends at Good Ranchers, with their 100% American-based sourced meat, it's fantastic. We literally chicken, steak. They got seafood now. They've got absolute pork. You got the pork box.
I did.
A couple weeks ago that you said was fantastic. And we know, again, it's around this time, whether it's NFL, whether it's, heck, tailgating for Major League Baseball, which is on fire right now. Big win from the Astros last night. You want to make sure that you have the best product, and Good Ranchers does. And they want to take the trick out of your meat, and they're throwing in a treat for listeners for $30 off your order with our promo code BOOSTER at goodranchers.com, BOOSTER. Great way to support the show. Great way to have great food. We'd really appreciate it. It's not lab grown or any of that crazy stuff. So what you need to do right now, go to goodranchers.com. use that promo code BOOSTER, and you get $30 off with free express shipping on your box of America's Best Meat and Seafood today. That's code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, for $30 off your box today at goodranchers.com. American meat delivered. It's, again, in reality, you're not wrong. You're not going to be perfect every single time. I get it. But getting paid what you're paid with what you've shown us, maybe if I do expect you to only lose one game a year, it's not that crazy.
I could deal with a lot for $10 million, man.
A lot.
But I don't think Dabo Swinney is a crybaby, but I do agree that you made a good point that it's overall, it is a good thing. You do want your fan base to be so emotionally invested that when you lose a football game, they're distraught over it, because otherwise the sport will collapse and the sport will die. There's too many other ways for people to entertain themselves. So yes, I love it when these college football programs, when Texas A&M fans just, they cry and they're upset at the first loss, because that ultimately is good for the game. Now, when you talk about like Nick Saban at Alabama, and the first time he loses a game in a season, Paul Feinbaum's going to come out and say the dynasty's over, just like we saw with Tom Brady, the first interception he'd ever throw. Max Kellerman trots out there, Tom Brady's career is over. That's how high you have to set the bar to be the best. Be the best.
I just feel like this is like going to like the fourth grade classroom and asking all the kids, like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're always like, hey, I want to be an astronaut or something cool, right? Nobody says anything like that's not cool, but then you being like, yeah, you're probably not going to be an astronaut.
Like, no, I want to work at a bank in a grocery store.
Yeah.
Good for you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I thought really set it up high.
I thought when I was younger that every job people were doing was like what they wanted to do. So when we would like go out to eat at Waffle House or something, like, well, that guy wanted to be a Waffle House cook.
Chef.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Want to be a chef.
Look, he's living his dream. I didn't know that people weren't doing the things.
Things really? And then you grow up and realize that 90%
when I was like 5 years old.
Doing something they don't want to do. All right. We're going to get to the chat in 1 second. We have the phone line opening up at 7:15 a.m. Central. That's 8:15 a.m. Eastern. Those are only two time zones. I know. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Also, we know a lot of the stuff's out of stock. We're about to stock it back up. We're going to put the link for merch in the chat. Make sure, again, if you want to support the show, it's one of the best ways to do it. Go buy some of that merch. We got some new stuff coming that we're going to unveil very soon. We're excited about getting the Booster Club, and we want to get your thoughts on some of the new designs we have as well. All right, Blaine, what up?
All right, chat, let's get to it. It's got a Mike RFF. It's a lifestyle, baby. It says, hashtag Ask Crain & Co. Poor choice of words for Dabo, obviously. But would it have been better to set realistic expectations or blindly say we're going to win every game and a championship every year?
No, here's what you say if it's me and we're talking about bandwagon fans. It's number one, I appreciate all the fans. Y'all are the reason that I'm here. Y'all are the reason I can put food on my family's table. And I want to win every game that we play. I don't want to just win. I want to dominate. I want to win a national championship every year. I want to give you guys back what you give me and be able to bring championships for our hardworking staff and our hardworking players. Now, are we perfect? No, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. My coaches aren't perfect. Just like y'all aren't perfect out there. But together, we can accomplish a lot. So I want you to know, regardless of what happens, we are working as hard as we can to win every game. Are we going to be perfect? No, but we're daggum sure going to try, because that's what Clemson deserves. And that's why I came to Clemson. That's what you say.
All right, let's go to MG. He says, Dabo's got 2 rings in the last 5 or 6 years. He said, Jake, calm down. He doesn't have T-Law or Deshaun nowadays. DJU was a bust. They beat FSU. No one is trashing them. Can't turn it over in crunch time.
No. Nobody's trashing Dabo Sweeney. He's one of the best coaches in college football. Now, with where college football is going and the way it's moving, just like Nick Saban with the hurry up, no huddle, and up-tempo offense, you have to make some adjustments. You're either evolving or you're dissolving in the sport. So don't get this twisted. This isn't a Dabo Sweeney's a bad coach or Dabo Sweeney's an idiot or doesn't know what he's doing effigy. That's not what this is. This is how does what you just said help the team when right now the perception of Clemson is declining a little bit while others are being raised, and you want to get that magic back. I just don't think this is helping. That doesn't mean that Dabo and them aren't going to win another one within the next 2 or 3 years. He's got to embrace the transfer portal. You better do a better job evaluating skill position players offensively, but this is not a Dabo can't coach speech. This is a Dabo, why would you say this? Because this helps nobody speech.
And again, to that point on DJ Uiagalelei was a bust, Not really. I mean, they still won 10 games when he was there.
Yeah.
Right? That, again, to the standard of now you're a bust unless you've won that championship, which Dabo Swinney has won as many as Kirby Smart has, who we've now crowned as like the current greatest coach.
Yeah.
You know, but another thing that I was going to say is Brent Venables was on that staff for a long, long time.
Yep.
One of those defensive coordinator assistants who stayed with the head coach season after season. Dabo hadn't had to deal with the turnover volatility that, say, a Nick Saban has, where every single year both coordinators are going to go take head coaching jobs.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Kirby Smart hung around with Nick Saban for a really long time too. And what happened when Kirby left? Look, sometimes you get the dream team together, and all of a sudden that center leaves.
In all fairness
Shaq
to Nick
gets
Saban,
on.
in all fairness to him, a lot of guys came.
No, I mean, just go look at the
still got him one
2015
after
step.
Kirby left.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that Kirby Smart was the reason Nick Saban had success, but what I'm saying is there's some similarities between the amount of time and the effect and the impact that Brent Venables had on Clemson as the DC and Kirby Smart had on Alabama as the DC, because obviously when they left, we're seeing Brent still got work to do at Oklahoma. We're going to see how they finish the year, but I think it's pretty obvious that Kirby Smart was a big part of the success that Nick Saban had, but Nick Saban's had success over time with multiple guys, like you said, with Will Muschamp, guys that went on to not work out as head coaches. So it's obviously different, but it just shows you the impact those guys have.
All right, let's go to Eddie. Says, if you can't handle the size of the bandwagon, then you don't need to be coaching at that school.
Yeah, it's, again, Cone said it, put it perfectly. If Dabo Sweeney, if we're having beers with Dabo Sweeney, I don't know if he drinks beers or not, or if he just drinks like water and I don't know, apple cider. And he said, and he looked at me and was like, guys, man, these fans up here, they're absolutely nuts.
Ungrateful.
They expect us to win every single game, and when we don't, if we win 11 games, you know, it's a bust, right? Or it's we don't win the championship, and I'd be like, yeah, man, that's really tough. Like, I'm not going to turn around and be like, all right, let the reporters in. Hey, coach, can you please say that to all of the media right now? That's a hey, we're buddies, let's keep it between us.
The last thing I'd ever want to be is a PR person for a big coach like that. Oh God, they're not going to listen to you.
Well, the best guy to be the PR person for is Nick Saban, because your job just really doesn't exist. Like, he's going to say what he wants. What are you going to tell Nick Saban what to say? And if he says something controversial, that's Nick Saban saying it. He's not going to get mad at you.
How would that work for the assistant with the analytics? Coach, we see the data here, and they don't like to use these.
He's like, what does the polling say? What does the focus group say? Oh, wow, well, I just got another card. The focus group said you're fired.
Yeah, you just stopped getting paid.
Yeah.
I think Nick Saban just has those buttons off Austin Powers.
Where you pray they
the
go
little
in the
red
fire?
buttons and the chair pops back and you fall into a pit of fire. That's what I think Saban has. You shot me.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't. Hey, everybody on YouTube, appreciate you guys stopping by. If you get a chance, make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit the like button on all the videos you can. Leave us a comment, whether you agree, whether you disagree, and make sure you turn that notification bell on so you know when we drop content.